Hello and welcome to Women of Influence podcast. Hi, I'm JaLynn with the J Group Real Estate Team.
The Great American Speak Off.
One of my favorites.
Hey everyone, it's JaLynn. Welcome back to Women of Influence. Today's guest is redefining what true health looks and feels like. She's a women's health and fitness coach, registered nurse, and founder of Define by Dom. After battling hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's, Dom felt drained, disconnected, and unsupported. But instead of settling, she turned her struggle into her mission. Now she helps women reclaim their energy, balance their hormones, and rebuild confidence from the inside out. Through her coaching community and podcast, Women Unleashed, Dom is empowering women everywhere to truly understand their bodies and thrive. Welcome, Dom Blonska.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me, JaLynn.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. And you're coming to us from the other side of the world, by the way.
Absolutely, from Dubai. Streaming live from Dubai.
Oh my gosh, that is on my bucket list. I'm going to get there one of these days.
You need to, for sure. This time of year as well, it's beautiful. Such nice weather.
Oh, so Dom, I started stalking you on Instagram and you have such a powerful story. So let's just dive right in. This conversation is going to be so good.
So exciting.
Okay, awesome. So from struggle to strength, you've been open about your own challenges with hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's. Can you take us back to that time and share what that journey taught you about resilience and healing?
Of course. Well, I got diagnosed about 4 years ago, 4.5 now. And at the time, I had absolutely no idea what was wrong with me. You know, my hair was falling out, I was gaining weight, my mood was really, really low, and I just had no idea. And then eventually, step by step, I ended up getting a diagnosis after fighting with the doctors. I ended up actually doing it all myself, most of it, because I just kept getting dismissed. And I remember that day like it was yesterday, and I just sat there and cried. I was like, what do you mean I have an autoimmune disease? What do you mean I'm going to have this illness for life? Like, I'm a very healthy person. So I was like, this is so unfair. And I kind of fell into the victim mentality at the time. And for me, it was just like, there's no way that I am going to have this for the rest of my life. I was like, I don't care what it takes. I'm going to get down to the bottom of this and heal myself, basically, because I had no support from anybody around it. So did a lot of research. It took me a lot of time, and eventually I got there. So I'm now actually in remission.
That is incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I can imagine while you're going through all of this, I'm listening to you and I'm like, oh my gosh, for me, that would have pissed me off. I'm like, no, this is not acceptable. I'm going to figure this out.
Exactly. And I am one of these people that, you know, when I say I'm going to do something, I will do it. And you get told by, you know, general practitioners, you know, it's impossible. You can't do it. Well, at the end of the day, a disease starts somewhere, right? So if you can get to the bottom of why it started, surely you can get it to go away. I'll make it silent, put it in remission.
Exactly. And I'm a firm believer that your body can be healed from the inside out by using primarily nutrition, just getting the proper nutrition in your body. It's like there's so much crap out there in our foods, especially here in the United States. Sorry, US.
It's true. Like all the additives and everything that they put in, you know, I seen a reel the other day, actually, it was really interesting. And it was a guy going into the supermarket comparing like simple products like tomato ketchup, for example, right? From say 30 years ago to now. And he showed the labels, like ingredients. And back then it was like 3 ingredients. Now it's like 20. And it was like that with most products, even like a grapefruit or something, and oranges, the things that they covered in and coated in. And people wonder why they end up having like leaky gut and health conditions, right? Because we're getting fed things that our body's just not meant to have.
It's crazy. I loved how you say tomato, by the way. I'm like, you say tomato, I say tomato.
Tomato.
That's adorable. I remember seeing that same reel, and I remember them showing a Fanta orange soda, the one in the UK versus the one in the States. And it was like you were saying, it was like 12 ingredients more. And it was like crazy. And the high fructose corn syrup, I believe that's like probably not one of the number one culprits why so many Americans are obese right now. Good Lord.
100%, and having health problems as well. One of the ones that caught my eye was McDonald's chips, because I wasn't expecting such a big difference. Like back in the day, they had 3 ingredients. It was like potato, beef tallow, and a bit of starch. Now, again, the list is so long. I'm like, why are we doing this? This is the human species. Why are we trying to kill everyone off,
Exactly. And by the way, chips are French fries for all of those
French
listening.
fries. Yes, sorry. French fries.
It's okay. I prefer them to be called chips, actually. I think that sounds classier. Let's have some chips, fish and chips.
Yeah, literally fish and chips.
So let's talk about redefining health for women. So many women have been taught to equate health with hustle or restriction.
Yeah.
How do you help women step away from that cycle and find a version of health that actually feels good and it's sustainable?
Yeah. Well, first things first, kind of what you just said there, restricting is not going to get you anywhere, right? And when you restrict, what happens? You binge. So many women think that, in order to get in the best shape of their life, they need to restrict food and not eat all these nice things. But this is how they end up in yo-yo diets and cycles, right? Because they restrict, they binge, and so on. Whereas if you actually allow yourself to eat all the things that you do enjoy in small amounts, you're going to get to your goal a lot quicker. So with how I coach women, I want to make sure that they eat the foods that they enjoy, right? And it's normal meals. So I would never take away like a pizza, for example, or like a pie. You can still have these things, but we just make it in a healthier way. So it's raising awareness and educating women on how to make these things in a healthier way.
Yeah, that's great. I'm a firm believer in just eating, like listening to your body and to what your body wants. And he's like, if you're craving chocolate covered pretzels, eat a freaking chocolate covered pretzel for crying out loud.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what it is? Like, I find that a lot of women, they don't realize this until they stop eating the bad food as such, the unhealthy food, should I say. When they step away from it and they start eating whole foods, as soon as they have something that isn't a whole food, they start to feel very unwell, right? And my clients are always like, well, Dom, why is this? And at the end of the day, your body is made to be fueled with all the nutritious things. So as soon as you put something that's not as nutritious, it's a bit toxic for your body rejects it because it has been eating all these great things over a certain amount of time. And now you're trying to poison it in a way. So that's your body just showing you that actually you're not meant to eat these things that are high in saturated fats and whatnot. And it takes you to start eating well all the time to recognize this. And the change that women have in, say, energy, for example, right? When they eat good food, the energy starts to get better. And as soon as they go back to eating the rubbish food, the energy levels dropped. But they're like, I never realized how I felt so low in energy for so long because it just became the new norm. So they don't really recognize it until they are feeling better and the energy levels are higher.
Yeah, absolutely. I can speak to that personally once I started cleaning up my diet and actually introducing probiotic, prebiotic friendly foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, beet kvass, things like that. I'm like, I'm feeling so much better because I realized I was holding on to so much toxicity. It was like, many women, especially at my age, they have issues with, going to the bathroom regularly. Sorry, TMI. But I'm like, once I kind of figured that out, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. I have so much more energy.
Yeah. And I feel like gut issues are one of the biggest things that the general population struggle with. People just don't realize, you'll hear that, you'll see all over social media, I'm bloated when I wake up. Like, that's not normal. And people just walk around bloated. That's telling you you've got gut issues. And why have you got gut issues? Because you're eating the things, and we're getting fed these things by the society that are wrecking your gut, all these extra additives, artificial things, etc.
Yeah, it's so true. And not that we want to go down on a rabbit hole on this, but I can imagine that it's very difficult and challenging to kind of reset your body, but you help women through that whole process and guide them through it, give them a roadmap, correct?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's exactly what I do. I educate. So there's a lot of coaches out there who will create meal plans and just be like, follow this. But I like to educate because I believe that if you are educated, then you can apply it to your day-to-day life. You can apply it forever, and you can apply it to your kids, your family, your friends, right? So a big part of what I do is education, not just around nutrition, but hormone health, female health, etc.
Yeah, speaking of education, you have such a unique mix of medical knowledge and holistic perspective. How do you blend those two in your coaching, especially for women who have felt dismissed or understood in traditional healthcare?
Yeah, so it's a very good question because obviously functional medicine and conventional medicine is completely different, right? Now, I am a nurse, so obviously to some extent, I have to logically think about things. And the nursing side of me also thinks more like looking at bloods, finds it a little bit easier to understand what everything means, correct? But when it comes to functional medicine, it's more so about the holistic healing, right? So I look at ranges, for example, in bloods, I look at them quite differently to how a GP would. I also incorporate things like breath work, meditation, holistic healing, because in my opinion, I believe a lot of illnesses, for example, or health problems come from unhealed traumas. So for me, I kind of try and blend the two together and educate my clients around this as well, because not everybody's open to this, right? So you tell someone, they've got unhealed trauma, they're not going to be very happy about that.
Yeah, speaking of unhealed trauma, I know, and not to get too personal, like, you know what, I'm going to get personal. I
Please
know
do.
that
I'm a very open book.
yeah, you went through quite a bit of trauma with, everything that you were experiencing and maybe a relationship that you had and things went sideways. And how did you cope during that difficult time?
Do you know what? It wasn't easy. And I'm not going to sit here and say it was. It took me 2 years, maybe even 3, to kind of get over that. It was hard because everything came crashing down at once. So I had a miscarriage. My partner left me. I had all these health problems coming out, gut issues, etc. And then one of my grandparents died. So it felt like everything just came crashing down at once. And at the time I was living in Spain. And I remember my mum calling me. She was like, come home. I was like, no way. I was like, I'm not coming home. I want to isolate myself and start doing the work on myself. And obviously health was one of the aspects I needed to look at first. So, I'm a very active person anyway, but I stopped looking after myself. So I made it priority to look after my nutrition, get moving, get myself out, have a good morning routine, and meditating, journaling, that sort of thing. And then from then onwards, it was just kind of like looking at the deeper work. So why do I feel such a way? Now that my partner has left, I recognized that I had an anxious attachment styles. I started reading about it, and I'm very spiritual anyway. So I started doing a lot of inner work on myself. And I feel like that helped me. Having a routine and having something to look forward to and having belief in something helped me quite a lot.
That's great. I imagine so many women in a similar sort of situation would probably just crumble underneath all of that and just like lose their shit, so to speak. Like, how did you find the strength to just start to take that first step to recover?
You know what? I'm not going to sit here and say that it was easy and I just got up and did it. Oh no, there were days I wouldn't leave the house. I was crying most days. My face was just like bright red and puffy because I couldn't stop. But again, I'm a firm believer that you need to go through that emotion, right? You need to feel it, let it go, and then move on. So I had those moments where I felt like that when, I wanted to see nobody and speak to nobody, but sometimes I knew I had to push myself out. So again, it was like I went to therapy. I did a lot of spiritual healing, like I did hypnosis. I did family constellation. I did a lot of, I had readings. Honestly, I did it all. I've done it all. And it all led me to kind of understand why I'm the way I am, why I felt the way I did. And being accepting of it, I think is very important because if, and not playing the victim mentality, right? Because I was very much so there. I was like, why is this happening to me? Like, why is it me internalizing everything when in reality it's not? So I feel like women need to feel the emotions, understand the emotions, and then look at how else they can support themselves.
That's great. You're so mature. Like, I wish I could be like you when I grow up someday. Seriously, talk about being in the victim mode. And that's so powerful that you recognized that about yourself. Like, I went through not a similar situation, but I experienced something where I put myself in victim mode for quite some time. And then I realized, I'm like, JaLynn, snap out of it. You're not a victim. You are a victor. Figure it out, make it happen, get over it and win, and like move on with your life.
I feel like a lot of people do fall into victim mentality, and not just in relationships, with their health, with the jobs, with the families, and they internalize it, right? And they're like, well, why is this happening to me? I could sit here and I tell this to my clients, and be like, I've got Hashimoto's. Why has it happened to me? I've been such a healthy person. Don't get me wrong. I've been there. That's how I used to think. But I've turned my pain into power, right? And now I'm able to help others as well. So I think that's really, really important. No matter what it is, you need to find the silver lining.
Yeah, there's purpose in the pain. I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, there's a pot of gold on the other side of the rainbow.
100%. There's a reason behind everything, and I strongly believe it.
Yes. So let's talk about hormones. I recently went on a new hormone therapy, and coincidentally, over the past couple of weeks, I've been highly emotional. I cry at the drop of a hat. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But yeah, so hormonal health can feel so confusing, even intimidating for a lot of women, right?
Yeah.
So what are some common myths you see, and what's one simple shift every woman can start making to feel better, to support her hormones, to better support her hormones?
So when it comes to myths, I feel like women believe, or they get taught, that once you enter perimenopause, for example, it just goes downhill from there and that's it. But that is really, really not true. You can support your body with the right nutrition. And I know I keep saying this, but nutrition is the healer. With the right nutrition, right supplements, and the right lifestyle choices. So hormones are a crazy thing, right? As females, they fluctuate daily. For us, like hourly, we experience all the mood swings. And the biggest culprit, I feel, is when women go on the contraceptive pill or just any sort of IUD at a young age, right? I used to be on the pill, and when I say I used to cry at everything, like out of nowhere, I'd just get this like whoosh of emotions, and I'd just cry at like, oh, I forgot to put the dishwasher on, and I would cry like the most simple things. And as soon as I came off it, because my hormones balanced out, I felt much better. So another myth actually is that in order to keep your hormones balanced, you need to be taking hormones. Not necessarily, right? You'll see younger women going to the GPs saying they're having struggles with the cycles, and they'll put them on the pill. When in reality, you're pumping fake hormones. It's not going to do absolutely anything but more damage to you. So I feel like women need to be a little bit more, well, they need to advocate for themselves and do the research as well, and don't just believe what a practitioner is telling you, as bad as that sounds, because I don't feel like there's enough education around the female health and the female body as a whole. So the simple things that any woman can do is good nutrition, look after the exercise side of things, and get good sleep. Sleep is also a healer.
Yeah, I think it's also important to find a practitioner that actually will listen to you earnestly and not just dismiss you. Like, for an example, my husband, he, unbeknownst to him, came down with type 1 diabetes about 8 years ago. And he went into his doctor and said, "Doctor, I'm peeing all the time. I'm like so thirsty. I'm drinking all this water." He's like, "Oh, you're just getting older. You're fine." And he's like, "No, there's something wrong with me." And I'm like, oh my gosh, like just what I was saying. Like, I can't believe some of these practitioners out there, they truly just don't listen, and they just want to brush you off. Like, move on.
I don't know whether it's that they don't listen or whether they just don't care. They just, some people just aren't very empathetic. And I believe that if you're that way, you shouldn't be a medical professional, right? They either don't care, they just, you're just a number, they're just ticking you off, they've seen you, that's it. Or they don't have the knowledge, because as stupid as this sounds, a lot of practitioners these days don't actually have the knowledge on what they need to. They do the med school. Med school's done, like, yeah, I'm a doctor, but you're not able to know so much about everything, right? You'll go to see a specialist around a certain area of requirements that you need. But even then, it's all taught on dated school stuff back in the day, right? They've not updated like the curriculums in unis and anything like that. So everything's very old. Like there's new research coming in, but we're not getting taught this, you know?
Yeah, unfortunately. So I think it's very important for all of us to go out there and, do the research on our own, get the education.
And there is
Absolutely.
more and more awareness around it now on social media, which is great. But there is also things that people believe that aren't necessarily real, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. There's a lot of information out there, and it's kind of sometimes hard to decipher through like what's really true and
Exactly.
what's
I get that
AI
question.
generated.
Yeah, exactly. I get that question all the time. Like clients to me, like Dom, before they sign up with me, they'll ask me, they'll be like, I've seen this on TikTok, I've seen this on Instagram, but one person says one thing, another person says another thing, and they contradict each other. And I'm like, yes, because it's not a one size fits all. So what works for one person might not work for another person. And this is why working with somebody, I feel one-to-one is really important because everybody's different,
Absolutely. And I think a lot of us tend to try like too many things at once, trying to do like a cure-all. Oh, let's try this, let's try that. And it ends up failing, of course, because you're doing all this stuff for your body that it doesn't want or doesn't need.
You're trying everything and nothing works.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing works. I've tried it all, but you've not tried it in the right way.
Exactly. Dom, let's talk about your podcast, Women Unleashed.
Oh, yeah.
So when did you start that? Tell me about that whole story.
So Women Unleashed started beginning of 2024, 2023. I think 2 years now. Anyway, it started actually due to my miscarriage that I had, and obviously my partner leaving me and everything, right? I just wanted to do something that would help other women because I know I'm not the only one that's been through this, and I know I'm not the only one that will ever go through this, right? I know there's a lot of women out there who struggle, who don't have support and feel like they're very alone when they're not. So it started off by, me being, I'm an open book anyway, I'll talk about anything, and I do it because I want other people to feel heard as well. So Women Unleashed came from that, where it's more so unfiltered, all females on my podcast talking about health, talking about relationships, all these types of things that us women love to listen about, right? And then we can relate. So I actually wanted to change it up this year and start introducing men into the podcast. So because I believe that as females, we have one point of view, and it's really important to consider the male point of view as well. So from this year, I'm switching it up a little bit, throwing a spanner in the works, and I'm going to have a few males here and there as well, because I find it very interesting psychologically, right, to see the other perspective of how we see things.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I'm the same way. I love psychology and figuring out why people think the way they do and what they're thinking. It's very interesting and fascinating to me. So good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And where do we find your podcast?
Podcast is on YouTube. It's on Spotify. It's called Women Unleashed Podcast. And I've got an Instagram page as well where everything is linked.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Well, I guess I don't have any more questions for you. Would you like to leave our audience with any last words of wisdom?
My words of wisdom for, I would say mainly my ladies, if you struggle with anything, like even the slight fatigue or any hormonal issues, and you feel like you're going crazy because your doctor's telling you, you're a mom, you are tired naturally, it's normal. It's not. Advocate for yourself. Start looking into things, start researching people that can help you, and advocate for your own health, because you only get one at the end of the day.
That's right. You only have one life to live.
Exactly.
Dom, this was such an empowering conversation. Thank you for sharing your story, wisdom, and your heart. You reminded us that health isn't about hustle. It's about listening to our bodies and honoring what they need. You're helping women reconnect with themselves, and that's powerful. For those listening, you can learn more about Dom's coaching, her Defined by Dom community, and her podcast, Women Unleashed. Links are in the show notes. And remember, your health, energy, and confidence aren't luxuries. They're your foundation. Take care of yourself first, and everything else falls into place. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time on Women of Influence.
Bye. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Okay, Dom, sit tight.